What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be looking at my top 5 servers for Mount & Blade on the Napoleonic Wars DLC. So let's get straight in there. Basically this is just my favourite servers. They're not necessarily the best or the most popular, but they're my favourite. So the first one we're going to be playing on today is Mini Siege. So this is my 5th best server. Again, it's all opinionated, none of this is fact, but Mini Siege would be my first one to go to. If 33rd NW Siege was still around, it probably would have been that, because that's what I used to play on when I first started playing the game, and it's where I was first recruited to a regiment, but unfortunately I think that server's now gone. So let's go for Mini Siege. So Mini Siege is basically a server similar to things like 84E Siege or 33rd NW Siege, but on a much smaller scale. So instead of 200 players, there's only I think 130 slots or something like that, and in general the maps are a little bit smaller, so it's a bit less hectic. So just like any Siege server, on this one you have a certain amount of lives if you're a defender, obviously, so the attackers actually have a chance to win. So if you lose those 3 lives, basically you're fucked and can't spawn in again till the next round. On the attackers though, you've got unlimited lives and you respawn pretty much instantly, whereas there is a delay for respawning when you're defending. So this server isn't too bad if you want to just practice in general. As I mentioned, generally the players on this server are worse than, for example, group fighting, because generally it just isn't a server where people come to practice their melee. It's just a bit more of a fun thing really, but it does depend on what sort of player you are. I mean, if you have just started the game, this isn't a bad place to first learn some melee, because as I said, playing against players that aren't as good, you're less likely to just get chambered and killed in one hit, which isn't really what you want when you're learning to play. So it's not a bad place to start, and it's somewhere I would recommend if you are newer to the game, or if you just want a bit of casual kind of play time on maybe a Friday night or something like that. So, on to the next server in my top 5 servers. So, the next one I think for me would probably be Tropical Paradise. Now, this server is a bit more of a deathmatch kind of style of things. It's not necessarily, again, the best place to train melee, but it isn't bad if you are new to the game. Generally, the players on here won't be the best of players, though. Saying that, sometimes you get a lot of known players actually coming on here just to have a bit of fun. You will quite often find as well on this server that there are kind of people grouping together, even though it's deathmatch. For a common cause, it might be to be a band of musicians or whatnot, so it's a good place to kind of let loose a bit and have some fun. As far as I'm aware, all the maps on this server are custom maps, so it's going to be something fresh if you're fed up of playing the same old default maps. And as well, they tend to quite often have admins on the server, so generally speaking there won't be any rule breaks though. In a deathmatch server, I guess you're fairly limited to what the rule breaks are. I guess it's only things like racism and that sort of stuff they can really deal with, because it's not like you can do much else, there's no team killing. But yeah, this is a good place again to just on a late night maybe have some fun, and it often does tend to have players on it as well. As far as I'm aware, it's only got about 64 slots, but generally speaking those slots are almost always filled. So if you want to get on it, you may have to queue sometimes, which is the only issue. Some of the maps as well are pretty cool. They generally all have different levels, so there's usually an upstairs, a downstairs, and quite often as well there'll be something with like a ship that you can sail to, which is always pretty handy, and it just makes for a more dynamic fighting experience really. Though again, it's not really where you go to train, it's more to have a bit of fun. But any melee is good for training really, so it's all practice and it's all worth doing. But again, this would be a server that I'd recommend to you if you are a newer player, because going somewhere like the group fighting server for example, you're probably going to get wrecked and it's not going to be of much use to you. So that was number 4, let's get on to our 3rd server. So our 3rd server today is going to be 47th Duel. Now 47th Duel is a pretty good server if you want to practice your dueling skills, but it's not so good for learning things like team fighting. So it's not somewhere I'd recommend to go if you want to learn group fighting, but if you do want to get a bit better at duels, this is a good place to train. Now again, on this server they do only have custom maps, and that's so your FPS isn't affected too much. Generally speaking, they don't have too many props or anything like that, so it means your FPS is quite smooth, which is obviously what you want when you're practicing melee, because you don't want to be lagging all over the place. Now on this server, obviously because it's on the duel game mode, you have to actually interact with people before they fight, so it's a bit different to Tropical Paradise where everybody's stabbing everyone at random. Generally speaking, this server again is usually populated. I happen to have came on at a time where obviously nobody's on, because it's a bit of a random time really for people to be playing NW. but you get the idea. Essentially it's just a duel server. You can come here, practice your duels and improve a bit, and yeah, it's just a general good place you can come to practice your melee. It's less of a casual server, I guess, but it really depends how you want to play. You might want to practice a new style, for example chambering or some kicking or something like that. This is a good place to do it, because obviously there's not really any effect or anything like that. Nothing bad will come of it if you fuck up, but again, it's a good place to try new things out. So that was our third server. Let's get on to the second one. And second on my favourite servers has got to be Cavalry group fighting. Now this server is pretty similar to the group fighting server, but obviously it's just cavalry based. So if you want to practice your cavalry skills, it's a pretty good place. All the maps are custom, of course, to make it more suited for a horse battle, and basically everybody tries to work together to kill the opposite team. Obviously the cavalry and the infantry communities being so split up, it allows for the two communities to kind of come together on these two servers and practice skills that they're maybe not so familiar with, because both have separate tournaments and all sorts of things. But this is, I guess, a bit less of a casual server and more where you'd come to train and try and get a bit better, because generally very skilled players will be on here, but there will of course be some newer players just trying to get a bit better, or some average players again trying to get a bit better. This is a server that has been up since nearly the start of NW and is pretty popular. Again, there's, generally speaking, always people on it, and it's probably the best cavalry based server there is. Not that there's exactly many to choose from. Though if you intend to play on this server, you better have some patience, because unlike the group fighting server, which is all infantry based, generally speaking, cavalry fighting is a lot about patience. If you go in too early, you're just going to get cut down and lose your horse. But I'll let you guys figure that out for yourselves if you want to try out the server. Now the final server, and my favourite server that we're going to be playing on today, which of course had to be mentioned in this video, is the group fighting server. That's a server that I'm now the co-owner of, so it might be a bit biased, but I've been playing on this for years, since I first started. This is where, if you want to improve your base melee, this is where you want to go. You can improve your group fighting skills and your dueling as well, because obviously there will be times you get into duels. Again, on this server there are all custom maps, because of course everybody wants to be in kind of an arena base. You don't want people running around, because the sole idea of the server is to have two sides going up against each other, melee only with bayonets, and fighting just like you would in a group fighting match, or even like the melee in a line battle. This is so that players can then go and improve their skills, and obviously get better as a player. In general, this is where the best of the best players will come to practice their melee, and at the same time as well, the worst players will come to improve their melee here. So you can get a complete mix of players on the server, and it can make for a different experience each time. This server has been around for years, as I mentioned earlier, but has passed ownership many times, depending on when people leave the community and that sort of thing. Because obviously different people are leaving the community all the time, then there's a different owner. The admins here are the same. There are some old admins that have been here since fairly the start, but again, due to people leaving the community and coming back, etc, the admin team switches up quite a lot, and generally speaking there's always an admin on the server in case of any rule breaks. Because in a server like this, it's quite often you get trolls or people trying to break the rules for whatever reason. Maybe it's just because they don't know the rules, which is why if you're a newer player, I'd recommend you go to the forums and read the rules first, just to make sure you don't get banned or anything like that. The server also uses a lot of custom scripts, so you actually can't shoot guns. If you try to shoot your gun, the bullet will just drop straight to the floor behind you, so it doesn't actually work. This stops any rule breaks. This basically stops people shooting each other, because obviously, as mentioned before, it is a server specifically designed for melee. Whether that is to improve your melee, enhance your melee, practice new styles just like the duel servers, or even just have some fun. Again, generally speaking, on this server there is always players. It's very rare that you will find the server without players, unless it is very early morning or very late night. So if you're looking for a server to practice your melee, or just improve in general, or even meet new people, this is the one. But please be warned, obviously on this server there is no recruiting. So if you're going to try and recruit for your regiment, it's better to go somewhere like Mini Siege or Tropical Paradise, where you won't get in trouble for it. Anyway, that's going to be it for my top 5 servers. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like for more things like this, and if you're new around here, why not hit subscribe, it'd be much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.